Hold on, bring it back.
Hey, this is Travis Ford, and you are listening to the Endurance Town USA podcast, brought to you by our friends at Race Roster. Today, we are very excited to interview a guy who is known across the endurance space for multiple reasons, one of which is a professional photographer, famously known for documenting the Tarahumara runners of Born to Run, the Western States 100 race, and literally thousands of world-class images of epic races and outdoor adventure athletes. He's also known as an athlete in his own right, with over 30 100-mile races, 5 Badwater finishes, the Tahoe 200, and currently training for the Hard Rock 100. He's also known as a race director for All We Do Is Run, the Born to Run Weekend, Red Rock 50, 9 Trails, La Cuesta, and new this fall, Back on the Ranch. We are, of course, talking about Luis Escobar, fellow race director and longtime friend of Samantha Pruitt. We met up with Luis in his Reflections photography studio in Santa Maria, California, and Sam's going to take it from here.
So we're going to get to know the man behind the mask, the man who is the face behind the race. I'd like to know a little bit about you growing up in the Central Coast. So where were you born?
I was born in Southern California, but
Okay.
I was raised in Atascadero, California. So my parents have an old craftsman-style home in the center of Atascadero, and my father is a photographer. And so I grew up in a photography studio, an old home. My dad used to do portraits out in the yard, photographing children and high school graduation portraits and weddings and that type of thing. So I grew up in that environment in Atascadero. And
Okay.
I graduated from Atascadero High School in 1981.
Oh, nice.
Long time ago.
Long time
Used to
ago.
ride donkeys to school. That's how old I am.
Were you doing any running at the time, or were you athletic in any way?
I played soccer, junior varsity soccer, which was really kind of a new thing. Soccer was brand spanking new to the Los Padres League, our high school league. So it was a new sport at the time. So I played a little soccer. That was it.
Okay, all right. And tell me, at what point in your life did you actually discover running?
In my early 20s, I was playing a lot of tennis here in Santa Maria at Hancock College, and I thought that running would be a good way to get in shape to be a better tennis player. So I used to live over here on Donovan Street and with my family and my wife and my kids, and I used to just run around the block, and then I would run around 2 blocks, and it was just interesting and intriguing to me. And then I quickly realized that I was not a good tennis player, and I was really meant to be a long-distance runner. I never was really able to run fast, but I really liked the idea of running far and seeing literally how far I could go. And then
So how old were you?
21, 22.
Okay.
Something like that.
Tennis was just for fun, or
Yeah,
were you playing
yeah.
for the school?
No,
Okay, you weren't
just-
competitively playing tennis.
No, just having fun, just playing tennis.
Okay.
So running was just a way to get in shape at the time. And then it didn't take long to start meeting other runners. And then at one point, I guess it was 1984 or 85, somewhere around there, my brother-in-law said, "Hey, let's run the Los Angeles Marathon." And I had no idea what that was. I didn't know anything about distance running, and marathon didn't mean anything to me. So we went to Big 5, and we got paper applications. They were there on the counter for the Los Angeles Marathon. We filled them out, sent them in with our entry fee.
With a check in the
With
mail.
a check in the mail. And then that March, we went to Los Angeles. I had in January, I ran my very first race. It was a 5K around Atascadero Lake. And then that was it. That was my first
That
race.
was your training for the marathon.
Wasn't my training, but it was my very first race. And then we ran some miles together. We had really no idea what we were doing. And then we showed up to the Los Angeles Marathon. It was the second LA Marathon, I remember that. And we did it, and it was 26 miles. And I had no idea that it was going to be as hard as it was and as challenging as it was. And I remember finally finishing. 4 hours and 6 minutes was my first time. And I just remember just laying there. I'd never felt like that before. I was in so much discomfort, and I was certain that I would never do anything like that again. But it didn't take very long to start thinking, gosh, if I changed this or if I changed that, maybe if I actually ran beforehand and got in some sort of shape, maybe I could do this. And then, so my brother-in-law and I, we spent the next year training, thinking that we were training, running as much as possible. went back the next year, completed the Los Angeles Marathon again. And I'm kind of obsessive, right? So I think that I finished it 11 or 12 times in a row.
Wow.
I didn't miss any of them.
Wow.
It was really silly. And then, yeah, during that period of time, that 10, 12 years, I was just meeting more and more people here in the Santa Maria Valley that were into distance running, and they started teaching me and coaching me and taking me to different races. I have a good friend here. His name is Gary Silva, and he was a few years older than me, and he was a great runner. And with him, I was able to travel to different races. We went to Big Sur several times. We went to St. George, Utah, and Las Vegas, and I really learned how to run and race hanging out with those guys. And
That was going to be my next question. Who was influential to you to actually bridge the gap of like, hey, what's this running thing? And then how do I get into distance sport?
For sure, at that period of time in my life, it was Gary, my friend Gary Silva. And I just met him running, I'd go to races, local 5 and 10Ks here or Lompoc or wherever, just here in the valley. And I would always see the same people. And so it didn't take, I'm not shy, so it didn't take long to meet them and start talking with them. And then, you become very, very close friends with your running buddies. And those guys were all older than me. They were a good 10 years ahead of me. And so they had a lot to teach. And I was ready. I was a student ready to learn. And they were willing to teach. And so it was a good period of time. I learned a lot and really got inspired. And you want me to keep rambling? Because I can just do this.
No, it's okay. There'll be plenty of opportunity for editing. Plenty of opportunity.
I can riff as long as you want.
So I also remember that you dabbled possibly in triathlon and other sports. Is this correct?
I did.
Is this just
fallacy?
fallacy?
I did a bunch of, well, I wouldn't say a bunch. I did the San Luis Obispo triathlon, which was like swimming back and forth in the pool and running around. I did the Morro Bay, the Harvest Festival, did that a few times. There was another one called the Sea Venture triathlon that started at Pismo. We swam out around the pier, I guess it was, and then rode out Price Canyon and back, and then ran on the beach. And during those triathlon years, I was not a strong cyclist, and I could swim okay, but I couldn't wait to get off the bike because I knew I would kick all these guys' asses if I could just get off this fucking bike. I could beat these guys, and that's exactly how it was. So I was really excited to run, get off the bike and run, and yeah, that was my thing. Oh, I did the Wildflower a few times. I did the long course. The first time I did it, I was absolutely 100% dead last. I remember coming down in San Antonio and coming down to where the finish was, and everybody was gone. They were taking the finish line down. My
Perfect.
wife was there, like crying. Where have you been? I've been sleeping on the road somewhere, and I literally staggered in last place. But I finished it, and that's the goal.
So then you pretty quickly assessed that running was the way to, in terms of lifestyle, right? Like you went all in on running. Everything else,
absolutely.
you were just dabbling in the rest.
I just really didn't have the time to train. I was a young person with
family,
with a business and a family and 3 kids, and I'm in my early 20s, and I already have 3 children, and so there was no time to be in a gym or swimming all the time, and I just didn't have it. But I could run, so I could do that. I could do that pretty much early in the morning or in the evening, and I didn't need any equipment or anything, just some shoes, and just go out and do it.
Hey, at what point did you become a coach? Cross country in particular, I know about, but other athletes as well.
Well, I coached high school cross country for 9 years. I guess I started in 2011, I guess it was. 2011? I don't know. But 15 years. So 9 years at Rigetti High School and 6 years at St. Joseph High School. And how that happened is I'm a photographer, so I knew all these kids because I was doing senior portraits at the time, graduation portraits, and photographing the teams. And I was interested in running, and I would go to the schools. I know some of these kids. I know their parents. Maybe I ran with their parents. And then it just happened that the coach at Rigetti High School moved he got a new position at Hancock College. So the job at Rigetti was open. And I went down there and I talked to the athletic director and said, hey, maybe I could coach high school cross country. And he said, no, we're looking for somebody that's a teacher on campus. And, okay, whatever. And then a couple of weeks later, he called and said, look, we have a coach. He's going to be here, but he's not here yet. It's going to be maybe 2 weeks. Can you just come and just
Fill in.
babysit basically for 2 weeks. Be here at 3 o'clock, 3 to 5. We'll pay you a little bit or whatever. And there's 12 kids on the team. You just go run with them. Okay, that sounds fun. So I knew some of the kids. So I went down there and I did that for 2 weeks. And that turned into 3 weeks. And then 4 weeks. The coach never came. And I was the varsity cross-country coach at Rigetti High School. And there were some parents there that taught me. And I went to some courses and learned more and more about how to do it and what it was all about. And a year turned into 2, and then 3, and then 15.
Wow.
And so how I started coaching or helping adults was through high school. So some of their parents would say, I like to run too. Can I run with you? Or can you give me some advice or spend some time with me? Mm-hmm. And absolutely. So I did a little bit of that. And then I was really passionate about being in the gym. And I had some friends there that were teaching me, and so it was just a natural progression to start bringing the high school students into the gym, and then their parents, and then other people. And so I worked in a gym in the mornings for about 7 years, and that was a good period of time too. I learned a lot, and I think that I shared a lot with people. I hope it was a good experience for everybody. I think it was.
Well, when you were coaching, what do you feel you learned from the kids? What did they teach you?
When I was in high school, I was not a good student, and I was not an athlete. I was the kid out in the parking lot with those kids. And so I didn't really appreciate what it took to be a good student. And so high school cross country, not just at Rigetti or St. Joe, high school cross country across the world, those students are very interesting and brilliant kids. Nobody comes out to watch cross country. They're not there to prove anything to anybody else. It's not a football game.
It's not glamorous.
No one comes to watch it. They do it because there's something inside of them. They have some kind of drive. Cross country is a very, very difficult sport. It's physically and mentally and emotionally challenging. Unlike baseball, there's no dugout to hide in. Unlike soccer, there's no bench to sit on. There's no sideline. When it's time to go, it's time to go. And you're out there and you're exposed. You're on the field and everybody sees you. And when it's over, your name is on a list and it tells you where you are,
rank,
where you belong. And so I guess what they taught me is these kids are great students. They're college-bound students. Most of the cross-country teams have the highest grade point averages of all the teams on campus. And then they're driven athletes. So it just taught me how to be a quality person. Just watching these kids excel in school and in this really demanding sport, it teaches me that, it just exposed me to a different culture, a different community that I was never exposed to. And so I don't know if it taught me anything. It was just a wonderful experience to be around these kind of kids. Kids, I wasn't that guy. I was the opposite. Mm-hmm. I got a D in photography.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, well, that really played out well, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd like to see my photography teacher, Mr. Gomez, gave me a D. But I would have given myself a D too, because what I was doing in the darkroom was not processing.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I was not a good student.
It was exposure of a different kind.
I was just experimenting with bad stuff.
Yeah. So you mentioned also strength coach. So I know you personally in that arena. You were actually my first strength coach when I was becoming an ultra athlete, however many years ago that was. And you taught me a lot of stuff, actually. And one of the things that you taught me to this day that really is super powerful is to embrace strength, heavy lifting, even though I'm an endurance athlete and a runner, that lifting weights and being strong is a good thing. It's not something to be afraid of. So strength training for you and working in a space where you're coaching people, like for you, what does that mean? Why are you giving back in that way to others?
Why do I do that?
Yeah.
Why do I want to share with
That's right.
people?
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, I learned a long time ago that, this because you sound corny, but this is true. I think about this a lot, and I believe this, that the best gift that we have to give to one another, and that's really all we have to do is share with each other, right? Mm-hmm. The best gift, the most valuable thing that you can do for me Samantha, what you can do for me is give me an opportunity. And the most valuable thing that I can give to somebody is an opportunity. I might not have money or things to give away, but if I can help create an opportunity for somebody, and I really believe this, as corny as it sounds, and when I am conducting a race, conducting a high school cross-country race, or working with a high school student, or working with an adult in the gym, or just spending time with somebody, hopefully giving them an opportunity. That's what I think. Honestly, if I can just share my experience, I know that I'm lucky. I know that I get to go to beautiful places and interact with a lot of amazing people. My camera has taken me all around the world, and my running has taken me all around the world. And I know that's not common. And so if I can just talk with people, and if that makes people excited to do things, then that's what I want to do. So if I can just share what I've done, if it makes them happy, I hate the word inspire. When people, I'm going to inspire you. I'm not trying to inspire anybody. If I can just share what I've done, and if it creates an opportunity for you, run with it. Literally, run with it.
Well, your style of coaching, and actually your style of being in the world for that matter, are unique, right? So when you engage with an athlete, somebody who's interested in being a better athlete, whatever type of athlete that might be, what you bring to the table is definitely a different perspective than the average coach. And I think, like for me, that was really a powerful exchange. And I'm sure that that's the case with other people that you coach. So your way of being, you say, provide an opportunity, but it's really us just getting to see how we could do it differently and what might be available within ourselves, right? Like you're trying to get us to tap into a deeper place.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. I've been in a few scraps, a few battles. And
Just a few?
Yeah, and so if I could share some of those stories with people, and if it helps them achieve their goals, perfect.
You are mentioning photography and photographing races all over the globe. Obviously, we talked about some of them. Western States 100, Survival Run, Nicaragua, Scott Jurek's Appalachian Trail record. So all of these experiences that you've had, experiences with athletes and with yourself being in these places, how has that transformed you as a human? Just being witness and being part of those really, really life-changing experiences.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've been a fly on the wall for a lot of iconic moments in long-distance running over the last 20 years. And to be there on the sidelines and watch it happen and to document it and share that with the world, it's a great experience for me. And yeah, watching people like Scott on the Appalachian Trail, watching what he went through, what he put himself through, was amazing. And if anything, that taught me that anything is possible.
How many days and how many miles?
It was 46 days, and the distance, I'm sure I'm going to get this wrong, 2,862 miles, something like that. 2,800 and something miles, 46 days continuous. That's an average of almost 50 miles a day. And through the Appalachian Trail, and that's not Johnson Ranch. It's extremely technical and challenging, and the weather was intense. And to watch this guy just grind it out day after day after day after day after day.
After month.
Was amazing. And I have stood by and watched Scott do a lot of amazing things, but that was a trip. And so what has that taught me? That that even champions like that are humans. I saw him on the ground. I saw him on his hands and knees. I saw him suffering just like anybody else. But then when he was down, literally on the ground, I saw him get up and shake it off and put his nose into the wind and kept on going. And he would do that till he couldn't do it anymore, and then he would fall down and he'd get up and he'd do it again for 46 days. It was a pretty amazing thing to watch.
Yeah. And it's affected you as an athlete as well in your own performance. Badwater 5 times. And why in the hell would you ever do it self-supported twice?
Well, it wasn't actually self-supported. There's different ways, So self-supported means that you carry everything on your body or you're pulling it on a cart by yourself, so zero support. That's not what I did. I did what's called aided. So what this is, it's not the race. So there was, we were not in the race. It was a friend of mine, two of us, Mauricio, myself, and my pickup truck, a couple of friends driving it with food and water. And yeah, we ran from the lowest point in the Western Hemisphere to the highest point in the contiguous 48 states. And it was amazing. Running in the desert like that, crossing the desert, really changes the way that you think. When you complete that and you're standing on the top of Mount Whitney, there's no cheering, there's no saying that I'm a badass and I just whipped the shit out of Death Valley and look at me, and it's not that at all. You get up there and you just turn around and then you run back down. It's a very, very humbling experience. And I like that about it. And so all of the big runs that I've done are humbling, really. And I know some people want to use running as a way to make themselves feel big or better or stronger or whatever the terms they use, but I think they're missing the point.
Agreed. So, let's just take a break and have some water.
All right. Great. When you're in Death Valley and you're running and you're out there, and it's a very, very big place. It's an ocean floor. And you realize that this place has been here for thousands of years, and it's going to be here for thousands of years.
After you die.
And we are a tiny, insignificant speck crossing through this
A grain of
amazing
sand.
place. Less significant than a grain of sand, because that grain of sand is going to be there 100 years from now.
True.
And I'm not. So go to the desert and run for 50 hours, and it'll change the way you think. It'll change the way you are. So I'd recommend it.
Not as a vacation.
But honestly, it is running in the desert, especially like that. It's a serious thing. It's not to be taken lightly. It's a very, very dangerous place, and so there's consequences there. And if you make mistakes, you're going to pay for it. They don't call it Death Valley for nothing. It's a dangerous place, and to be there in the summer too. That's the other thing. A supported race run like we've done. It's always a summertime run, so to make it official, it needs to be start between July 1st and August 31st. It needs to be
When it's really cool there.
It needs to be an a.m. start, so it's between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. So you can't start at nighttime. You can't do it in the wintertime. Do it in the summer.
I was going to go in December.
Well, it's all right.
It just won't count, right?
That's good. It'll count. It doesn't have, there's no rules to running. You do whatever you want to do. But yeah, running in the desert is just a really interesting place, and it will change you. I believe there's less than 60 people that have ever done that. And so I'm kind of proud to have my name on that list. Twice. I can't wait to do it again. I would love the opportunity to do it again.
Okay. Changing subject matter just ever so slightly.
Am
So,
I saying what you want me to say? Is this good?
you're being yourself.
Oh, yeah. It's just a
You can
conversation.
say absolutely anything you want. It's all good.
Absolutely.
This is what we had in mind. So there's no crafted anything. We're not selling anything. That's the beauty of this podcast, right? We're not selling anything. We're just telling stories.
Good.
So I would consider you a very non-traditional race director.
By design.
Correct.
I go out of my way to make my events the exact opposite of many events that I participate in and that I see.
And I've done many of your races, and so have a lot of people I know. And we're drawn to them for that reason. I want to know what that's about and how you evolved as a race director in the first place.
In the early 1990s, when I was first introduced to trail running, it was a lot different than it is now. The sport was certainly was established. I'm not saying I was there at the beginning. I wasn't. But in the 90s, it was a heck of a lot different than it is now. There were maybe 8 to 10 100-milers in the country. Now I think there's 150. They're everywhere. Back then, I remember getting in my truck and driving to wherever, Grass Valley, way far away from here, and running the Nugget 50-miler. And you get there, and the race director is some crazy, eccentric guy. There's no real structure to anything. We're sleeping under the stars, just laying on a sleeping bag in the middle of the Sierras, and get up in the morning, and he would scratch a line on the ground with his heel and say, "This is the starting line." And he'd say, "Wait, no, it's not." And he'd buff it out, and he'd walk over there, and he'd put another line on the ground. "This is the starting line. And then you're going to go run this course," and they would describe it to you, and you'd go run it, and you would get lost. There was not enough food. There was not enough water. It was dangerous. It was unstructured. You'd make it back, and hopefully. And
No bibs, no chips.
none of that. And you get back, and, like, "Hey, do I get a T-shirt?" And the guy would be like, "Get the hell out of here," And then you'd spend the night there, make a campfire, and drink some beers, and hang out with your friends, and tell lies about the run, and then do it again next month. And that's what I remember. That's the way it was when I was new to it. Maybe it was just my impression of it. I don't know. And so, again, I just share my experiences with people. So we've created a series of running events that are that. And so we don't have fancy things on purpose. We don't have maps. We don't have course profiles. We discourage Garmin watches and being on Strava. And I know I'm saying all this stuff, and it's just going to turn people off, and that's fine. Don't come.
You're okay with that?
I'm okay with that. We probably say, I used to say no more than I said yes to people coming. And I'm not trying to make it out like there's some kind of crazy badass thing. It's not that. It's just, I want it to be organic and small and funky and fun and non-corporate and just friends having fun running what it was to me back at that time. We didn't have GPS watches. I do now, but we didn't have them at the time. And so it was a lot different deal.
I saw a course map at one race.
Well,
I'll tell you.
Handwritten.
So it was a piece of cardboard with your Sharpie pen,
Right.
basically running circles with a
Right.
few little, markers.
Right. I like to draw the course map on the ground.
So helpful.
Yeah. I think it's just a different experience. It's not better, it's not worse, it's just different. There's nothing wrong with the big races that provide all of those things. In fact, I've done races where they have the course is on your phone, and on GPS tracking, and you know exactly where you are. And it's fine. There's a place for that. But then there's a place, I think, for what we do too. And so we do it on purpose. And people call me or send me emails, and I need a course profile and I need a map. And I say, well, we don't have that. So, well, how am I gonna do this?
How am I going to train
So
those?
do you trust me or do you not trust me? And if they don't trust me, then there's other races that they can go to.
And you offer camping. Why do you have that?
Well, I just said because I used
That's
to
the
go to
tribal.
these races in the 90s.
That's the tribal
and
experience.
I used to just go and sleep on the ground. And,
Yeah.
and seriously, this again is going to sound like esoteric and corny, but I believe that it's important for us to have an actual physical connection to the dirt. Lay in the dirt, sleep on the ground.
Get
and
dirty.
Get up in the morning and run on that ground, and then come back and sleep on that ground again. It's a great experience. People that come to races and go stay at the Embassy Suites or Hilton or whatever, you're just missing it. You're missing a big component of it. I think that to fully experience it, you completely immerse yourself in it. And that's part of it, I believe, is sleeping on the ground. I sleep on the ground, but I also sleep in my motorhome sometimes too.
That's your upgraded
Yeah,
version.
but it's just another way of thinking about it and presenting it. And not everybody appreciates what I do, but a hell of a lot of people do.
Absolutely.
And they come.
Well, I was at your first Born to Run, and one of the things I remember significantly, and I still to this day have a collection of them, is the amulets, what you give
Right.
to the athletes when they finish the race. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so my friend Akabil, I met in the early 2000s, Now I remember now. I started coaching in 2001, not 2011. So I've run the Hurt 100 a few times too. And so Akabil is from Oahu, and he is a ceramicist, pottery and jewelry. And so he would make these amulets, little necklaces, and he would bring them here to the mainland to give away to his friends. And they have a little symbol on it. It's kukini is the symbol, and the kukini is a Hawaiian running man. So it's a little petroglyph that's carved in the rocks in the mountains above, Honolulu. And so that is the symbol of the Hurt 100, and that is the symbol of the state parks in Hawaii.
Wow.
And that is the symbol that's tattooed on my arm, and that's the symbol that Aka put on those amulets, kukini. And so when we did the Born to Run for the first time in 2011, of course, invited him. He's a good friend, and he came and he brought a bag full of those amulets, and we gave them to runners, and it's become a tradition. Akabil died 3 years ago, I guess it is now. And so we still have amulets of some form. Our friend Tracy Thomas makes some for us. But also our Tarahumara friends from the Copper Canyons in Mexico, they make a form of an amulet, which they'll be bringing to our race this year too. And so that's kind of the story of that. Aka would put those around your neck. And he put one on my neck, and I would never take it off until it fell off. And or he would put a new one on me. And I don't have one on me now because it fell off, and I'm not going to put another one on because he's the one that puts them on me.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's it. That's my Aka story.
I love it.
He's dead somewhere, but I feel like he's still around. I feel like he comes to the race. He came to every one, and then he passed away, I guess, 3 years ago. So even though he's not there, it feels like he is.
Yeah. I love that.
That's fantastic. That's great.
I have mine, see?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to talk about a few other little things. Is there anything in particular, though, that we haven't covered that you want to talk about? No?
I could talk about running and photography all day. That's just
And
what
this,
I do.
and
It's
so
all in my mind.
we're going to come back. So we have two mini-series. One is Faces Behind the Races, so it's race directors and industry people who make the industry happen. So that's where this is going to get featured. There's another mini-series, which is Off Course, which is going to be athlete stories and more that kind of stuff. So we think we're going to come back and do a deeper dive on you as an athlete and in the photography piece for that.
I guess just talking about the races that we do, if we just emphasize the idea that the events that we put on are created by runners for runners. That's what it's about in my mind. And, it's a group of friends. We have a very active volunteer force. People come from all over the country to help us every single year. And as you know, Samantha, putting on events, you can't do it without volunteers. And so our events are successful because we have a very dedicated group of people that come to help us out. They get it. They understand what we're trying to do, the message we're trying to convey, and they're part of that message. And when I go to the Born to Run Ultra Marathon or to Santa Barbara Red Rock or the Santa Barbara 9 Trails, for me, it's a homecoming. It's a business. People pay us and we provide them with the product, but more than that, it's a gathering of friends, and that's sincere, and I think that is why our events are as successful as they are. They're small events, 200 people, 400 people. Born to Run's big. We have 800,000 people come, but it's more than anything, more than trying to make money, it's trying to create a community, and now the community has just created itself. And I think that's the success of all we do is run events.
Why is that important? Fostering that community, hosting that community, being a facilitator, because I see myself in that role too. But to you, what does that mean? Why does that have so much personal value?
Again, just back to creating opportunity and creating a platform for people to come and have a good time, to experience each other, to spend time together, and to go out. And honestly, Samantha, the running is a small part of it. all we do is run. Is just running is a very small part. Even though people come to our events, and I realize that there's a perception in the world that our events are 4 days of games and drinking and partying and live music and silly stuff, and that's partly true. But there is a lot of running that goes on.
Yes.
People come to Born to Run, and we have close to 30 people that are going to run for 4 days. They're going to start on Wednesday, and they're going to run until Sunday, and they're pretty serious about it. People come, we have a 100-mile race, a 200-mile race, 60, 30, 10, and it's real trail running. But when they're done, they have a good time. And I learned that from the Tarahumara in the Copper Canyons. Those people, they are athletes by default. They don't train. They don't log their mileages. They don't have same thing. They're not on Facebook. They're not charting anything. They're not
on Strava?
They're not on Strava. They don't have watches at all. They run out of necessity, and they're very serious about it. And when they're done, when the competition is complete, they party hard for a couple of days, and it's just part of the experience. And so, Born to Run's kind of like that. In fact, we'll have a team of Tarahumara are coming again, and they'll be there, and they're going to be right in there with us. They're going to come, they're going to run hard, they're going to compete, they're going to be in the front, and when it's over, Saturday afternoon, they're going to do what they do.
What are you doing with these athletes that are running the 0.0?
Well, they are polished, fine-tuned instruments. They are athletes for sure. They come at noon on Saturday, and it's 0.0 kilometers that they do. They come and we read their names, and they stand on the starting line, and they have a bib number on, and we play some music, and we celebrate their athleticism, and then we say ready, set, don't go, and shoot a gun, and then they don't have to pick up a beer and drink it, but it's better if they do, and then they wander away.
Excellent.
And that's it. And
do they get a shirt?
They get a shirt, and
okay.
they get a bib number. And honestly, we started that as a joke 5 years ago, and I just put it on the registration as a joke. It was like $45 to do 0.0. And 65 people registered.
Right? Exactly.
And people were emailing me and saying...
Why was it sold out?
Well, they were saying, Louis, I'm in Pennsylvania. I can't come. Can I do it virtually? I'm like, wait a minute. Are you telling me you're going to pay me $45 to not come to a race? Yeah. All right. I will mail you a T-shirt and a bib number. And then what they were doing is, we have a very active Facebook page. We have like more than close to 7,000 people, I think, on that page. So what people do is at noon on Saturday, wherever they are in the world, they put on their shirt and their bib number, and they put their iPhone and they do live or pictures of themselves on their couch eating a burrito.
Cheetos.
And drinking a PBR, and that's how they participate.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, great. So we have that.
Equal opportunity.
We have that, and then we have
4
world-class
days.
elite athletes coming. This year, Claire Gallagher is going to be there. Scott Jurek is going to be there. Michael Verstig is going to be there. Patrick Sweeney is going to be there. These are people that win races internationally are going to be at Born to Run, competing next to people that are drinking beer and doing nothing.
Yeah.
And
levels the playing field.
There's a place for everybody at Born to Run, so come. Check it out. It'll blow your mind.
You want the 0.0
Yes.
T-shirt
Oh my
and
God,
sticker,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
All inclusive.
You can do it.
Equality.
love it.
It's a whole other level
Love
of
it.
equality.
You can do
I
it.
think it's fantastic.
And our stuff is different, and for sure. And one of the reasons why we can do all this stuff too is that it's private.
Right.
Everything we do, almost everything we do is on a private property. So we rent a large ranch for several days, and there's very little
Behind a gate.
behind a gate. So there's not a lot of restrictions, and also it's private. And honestly, I can control who comes. And somebody doesn't seem like they're a like-minded person, that they're not going to be comfortable there, and I will discourage them from coming. Mm-hmm. So it's different than the Los Angeles Marathon. Pay the money, come and run the race.
Mm-hmm. We're grateful to the Los Angeles Marathon because that's how you became a runner. And forged this path, if you think about it, right? Like, so.
Well, let me riff on that for a minute. That's not how I became a runner.
Okay.
I'm a runner, you're a runner, you're a runner. It's inside of all of us. The Los Angeles Marathon just happened to be the place where I went and
they had cool shirts.
Discovered that I could run. And I've said this before, and this again sounds corny and contrived, but it's true, that you've heard this before, that somebody in your family, somebody in your ancestry had to run. They had to run to catch food or to avoid becoming food. And the people that couldn't run and catch food became food, and they're not here anymore. So somebody in your family at some point ran. That means it's in you. Even though maybe you have an injury or you feel like you're not in shape, whatever, it's in you to be a runner. And what you need to do is rediscover that. And so this is how you do it. Go outside, take off your clothes, take off the watch, throw it in the bushes.
Take off your clothes.
Feel the sun on your skin, put the air in your lungs, and go outside and get on a dirt surface and walk, and then stagger, and then shuffle, and then run. And you will remember that you're a runner. It doesn't take very long to remember that.
Yeah.
And so, the Los Angeles Marathon and the Atascadero 5K Lake Run was a vehicle that helped me remember that. And I went from the Atascadero Lake 5K to the Tahoe 200 and everything in between. It's been an incredible journey, and it's still going. I can't wait.
After all these years, can you think of an individual who you feel has inspired you the most in your professional career? Running, inclusive of photography. I mean, is there somebody who sort of stands out to you, race directing even?
I feel like I'm always name dropping, but for sure Scott has been a great inspiration to me. Watching him as a person, as an athlete, Scott Jurek, 7-time winner of Western States 100. He's won Badwater, he's won everything. And the undisputed champion of the world, kind of. But he's an incredible athlete, but he's an incredible person. He's a good father, he's a good husband, he's just a good dude. And so I've been fortunate enough to watch his career and photograph him many, many times and just watch him do the amazing things that he's done. And so, he's been a great inspiration to me as a runner and as a person. And having him as a friend makes it hard to quit. Tahoe 200, I was out there for 92 hours, and he was there helping me out, him and his wife Jenny. And there were times when I was just like, man, I cannot do this. I cannot stay awake. I cannot keep moving. I am done. I'm out. This is stupid. I'm going home. And then, and he shows up. I'm like, oh, fuck. All right, I guess I'm not quitting. I guess I am going to continue this thing. And so, I got through that because of my wife Beverly and Jenny and Scott. Couldn't have done it without them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thinking back into childhood and your upbringing, your family roots, all that kind of stuff, any particular person or experience even that you feel set you up for success? Because you're successful. I mean, you're doing it in so many different arenas. You're a successful person in life. What's that about?
I don't know. I don't know if I was ever set up for success. I mean, I a fine family, and my parents were great. All of that was wonderful, but athletics was never part of the process. We never talked about that. We never talked about college. I didn't go to college. I graduated high school and went to work. And that's, like I said before, I've never had a job.
Values, upbringing?
Hard work.
Hard work.
That was the thing. So that's what was valued, I think, in my home when I was growing up, is that I was supposed to be a hard worker. And my father, my stepfather, instilled that in me. You work hard. And so I was working when I was in high school. I did have a job because I was working in a restaurant, and I did that type of work for all the way through high school and all that stuff. And then met my wife in a restaurant, and then we started doing photography right then and there in 1982, 83, 84, and just never stopped. So working hard, and that's it. You know that, Samantha. I'm a hustler. I just do whatever I can do.
Yeah.
Just keep moving forward and look for opportunities and try to create opportunities for people. Because again, when you do that, it comes back to you. I don't do favors hoping that a favor's going to come back to me, but it always does.
Right.
So I think just go out there, be kind, do good things for people, and good things tend to happen to you. I think we should make America kind again.
Yes, please. Luis for president. I'm going to start the campaign immediately, the minute we leave here.
Escobar 2020.
Okay, I have one more question. I'm going to ask you about daily rituals. So trying to get a little bit of, and this will be kind of the last thing, like having people see what the daily Luis Escobar life looks like. So kind of like daily routine, daily ritual, but
Sure.
I'll preempt it, but then you can go wherever you want.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so I'm very curious what your day in and day out life looks like, because I just know you professionally and, as a friend, and you've been a coach, and, we have that kind of relationship. But what are daily rituals looking like for you these days?
Well, it's my life is awesome because it's always different. There's always something new, and I make a conscious effort to try to get myself into different situations and try to get on trips to go traveling and taking my camera and my running and using it as a vehicle to get to different places. But every day, first thing I do is I write a list every single day. And
To-do
look
list?
around yeah.
Okay.
When I wake up, I guess when I go to bed, I'm thinking, okay, what I'm going to do tomorrow? What's the first thing I'm going to do tomorrow? And then how is that going to impact what I do next? And then I get up every morning and I write down a list on a piece of paper. And I carry that around with me, or it's on my desk right now, and I cross those things off as I go. And then if I don't accomplish it today, it goes on the list for tomorrow. And so on that list is everything that I'm going to do. I'm going to get up. I'm going to. Sometimes my wife's like, "You're writing down that you're going to move the truck." Yeah, I got to move the truck because if I move the truck, then I need to move the motorhome. So everything relates to this list. And so I'm a big list writer. And I think that goes with goals too, with the old things saying, you got to write it down. It's got to be reasonable, and it's got to be written, and then you can accomplish it. So that's the first thing I do is make a list, and then
You go on about your day.
Attack the day, yeah, and then mark things off as I go. And I keep a calendar on my phone and all my computers. Everything's connected, and so every hour of my day is really pretty much scripted.
Wow.
And so I just go through it. Being here with you today was.
It's fascinating to hear this. I would have never thought either of those things, because the person I know about you is that you're very wild and free, and this is very structured. I'm hearing structure from Luis Escobar. It's refreshing, actually.
Samantha's, some of that is a character. When you keep going back to Born to Run, but people see me and I'm wearing a cowboy hat, I'm carrying a beer around, I'm being wild, and it seems like I'm out of control. That's a character. I'm very much in
Today
control.
you're wearing
a sports coat.
A sports coat and a button-up. You look fantastic.
A pair of slacks.
Yeah, it's awesome.
No, I have to have some kind of structure because I've got a lot of stuff going on. I've got a lot of plates are spinning in the air.
Yeah.
When you don't have a real job, you just got to keep doing what you can do. There's a lot of stuff going around.
You have a real job. You have 3 real jobs.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it. Yeah, self-employment is a whole other world.
Yeah, and then throw running onto it. So I'm trying to create these running events and trying to pay the bills with my photography work. But then I want to run too. So there's that. So I write that down. I'm going to run today, and I put the time of day.
You're an athlete in training. Hard rock's no joke.
Hard rock is no joke.
Mm-hmm. It's coming up.
Yeah, I've have a lot of 100-mile experience, run lots, and some incredible races and some very challenging race courses. And I have avoided hard rock my entire life, my entire career. I've seen it. I went there. I photographed it. And I've been to the top of Handy's Peak. I know what it means to be up there, 14,000 feet, all that stuff. I've seen the course. And I said, there's no way that I'm going to apply for this because I am not going to be able to make this happen. And then when I finished Tahoe, a friend of mine said, oh, hey, you're qualified for hard rock. really? Okay. Huh. All right. So I applied for Hard Rock and then forgot about it because it's impossible to get into that race. People apply and for
What's
many
the field,
years,
like 115?
I don't even know.
It's barely over 100, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. So I just applied and thought, it's not going to happen, but I'll just put my name in there, whatever. And then I literally forgot about it. That was in September that I applied. And then in December, my phone is exploding. Congratulations, see you in Silverton. I'm like, what the hell is this? And then my buddy of mine, Mauricio, my running friend, he says, dude, we're both in Hard Rock. And I'm like, oh my God.
Together.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and I go to the website and there's my name. They don't send you a notice saying that you're in the race. You just got to know, I guess. And so my name is on the list. 14 people were drawn, 14 first-timers were drawn, and I was one of them.
Wow.
So then you're like, okay, now this is the most challenging 100-mile race in the country. It's in the San Juans, very, very steep mountains, high altitude, it's extreme. And so I'm scared. And so that's inspired me to get back in the gym. I've been working out a little bit
Nice.
with my friend, my trainer, Mark Gatson, and I've been running as much as I can. Some days I'm able to get out there twice, a little bit in the morning, a little bit in the afternoon, trying to squeeze in some long stuff. And I plan to, in July, stagger into Silverton, wild and trained and ready to dance with
Ready
the
to
San
rumble.
Juans. Yeah, and we'll see what happens. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And most of the time, I can go into a race with a certain amount of confidence that I can just rely on my experience. I've done this a bunch of times. I can figure this out. I'm a lot slower than I used to be, but I know how to do it. I got it up here. I know how to do it, but can I actually physically do it?
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, I don't know what's going to happen at Hard Rock. I know I'm going to start, and I know I'm going to give it hell, and we'll see.
Yeah.
I think I will. I think the next time you see me, I'm going to be a Hard Rock finisher.
And we'll be interviewing you.
Okay.
But
one way or the other.
the beauty in the not knowing and taking the risk, that's the good stuff. I love that.
Yeah, the risk is, if you don't risk anything, you don't get anything. So you got to throw it out there every now and then. See what
That's right.
happens.
Cool. Well, thanks very much. This was fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for what you do for me, but what you do for San Luis Obispo and the events that you've created have really filled a void. And San Luis has always been a great running community, but we were lacking long distance running. There's really hasn't been an established trail, big ultra trail running in San Luis Obispo, and certainly the marathon. And so, you've done a lot. You've inspired a lot of people and helped create a new community up there. And I like being part of it. So keep inviting me.
We're happy to have you.
That's great.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Ta-da!
Good.
Just like that.
Good talker.
Yeah.
Thanks again to Luis Escobar for carving out so much of his time today and allowing us to record in his Reflection studio. And thank you for tuning in to another episode of Endurance Town USA, brought to you by our friends at Race Roster. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends. We'll catch you next time. Travel to Endurance Town USA.
Bring it back.